Hello, everyone. Great to see you all here. How many SEOs do we have with us today? Fantastic. So let's talk about international markets. First, we have to start with the usual content marketing workflow that we go with. You all SEOs, you know exactly what you're doing. This is the usual workflow, the best practice workflow that you do for your home market. You start with looking into your goals and your requirements. You decide what you're gonna focus on. For example, the audits of your website, keyword research, competitive analysis. You move on to optimizing your existing content if it needs optimization, or creating a content calendar for any gaps you have in your content. Then you move on to implementing all of that. You go through all of this and you're super happy that you've gone through the whole process and you're measuring and you're seeing results. That's fantastic. However, when you do have other languages to deal with and other markets to deal with, you've done all this fantastic work for your home market. And when you decide to just go and send it for translation, sorry about the cringy picture from stock, it is not best practice. And a lot of you know that. You know that just translating your website after you've done all that work is not good practice. But you need to convince internal stakeholders to invest in that effort. So you don't translate, you go ahead and redo the whole work in each market. But who's going to give you the green light? Who's going to give you the budget? How can you convince them for that? First of all, you need to prioritize. Okay, we need to look at which markets are we going to start with? Which ones are we going to optimize for? Of course, we're going to start with the ones with the most popular traffic. We're getting most conversion from. What is the second most important language that your users are using to come to your website? All of that data. Of course, the search engine that is popular in that target market. Google is not everywhere. Yahoo is still a thing in Japan, and there's Naver in South Korea. We have Baidu in China and other search engines out there. So the idea is to gather all this information that you already have access to and gather a picture of where the opportunities are based on this information. The click-through rate through a specific market will indicate that interest for a specific product from a specific market. So you use visualization to show all that interest to your internal stakeholders. So what it becomes like, what you're doing in your home market becomes so important to replicate in each one of the target markets based on those priorities. So we end up with this: you identifying your local opportunities, you're optimizing existing content for those opportunities, of course, and then you identify any gaps that you need to fill, that your competitors are ranking for and you're not, and you move on to creating optimized new content if needed. And of course, you need to measure all of this. And this picture could look different in each market, because you cannot just replicate whatever worked in the home market and hope for the best. Each market is different, search trends are different, competition is different, and the search landscape is also different. So there are two things that are so important to explain to your internal stakeholders that will get you that buy-in. You need to talk about your competition in those markets, and your perceived competitors in general are not always the same. Each market has, some competitors could be local competitors you've never heard of. If you don't do the research, you never find out. And some others are the competitors that you already know. However, what is also very important is the search trends. Once you identify your local competitors, you need to turn to your audience, because whatever way users search in your home market, that's not exactly the same way other users are searching. Let's take, for example, Germans, like say here in the UK, when you're searching for cheap holidays to the Canaries, the Germans wouldn't search with the term Canaries, they would search with individual islands. So if you're an SEO, you need to create content for individual islands in German if you want that traffic to come to you, because there's less searches for the Canaries in general from Germany. So this is just an example to show you how you should tailor each strategy for each market based on the user habits. And of course, you get lots of information from the local competitors who actually know what they're doing in their own markets. So how are you going to be convincing your management to invest in this effort? Because as we know, SEO, whenever I used to be an SEO manager, I know the pain. Whenever we ask for more budget for something specific to SEO, it's very hard to convince. But for a paid search, it's easy for them to get lots of budget. So we need to convince with the data we're looking at every day. We are surrounded with lots of data. We work with lots of data. We need to pick up the information to convince with from that data. So we know that in each vertical, we do have global, competitors. However, we've seen, like from previous work and experience, we've seen that there's always local underdogs that you've never heard of, and they're really doing really well and overperforming. This is a quick example in the shipping industry. Anything you see in yellow there is non-branded keywords that those local competitors that are not really well known elsewhere are ranking for highly on page 1, and the main big names of the shipping industry are not. And these are terms in the local language. So if the big brand is just translating what they have in the home market, they're missing out on those terms that are used by locals in their language to search for the same products and services. And the local competition, obviously they know about these things, it's their language and it's their people. So let's go and look at all of this and think about how we can address internal stakeholders to show them how to convince them. Okay, you're SEOs, but don't be shy to use PPC data to convince. Why? Because with PPC data comes dollar signs. There's always, a number attached to a keyword or a query or a key phrase with how much it costs for a click, right? That's the value of the keyword. You're pursuing that keyword organically. You want to rank for it organically, but there is a price tag on that keyword from PPC. Why don't you go get that price and put a number on the keyword and explain that this is the value for this term, we need it, and I need to invest in these SEO activities to rank for this term or whatever list of terms. They're worth this much, so we will be basically earning this money. If we were to pay for each click, it will cost us this much. So here is an example that we picked up from the shipping industry, meaning here we have livraison rapide, just fast delivery. A couple of these big names weren't actually ranking for this one, which is surprising. And the search volume is over 90K for this one. The local competitors do rank for it. And the CPC, the cost per click is $1.85 per click for it. So if we were to pursue this keyword organically, and we need to convince somebody who is in management, who's not involved in data or Google Search Console or You can show them lots of data, but they wouldn't actually get the right visual. You could talk numbers with them and explain that if we were to, for example, get clicks, if we were to rank organically, get even 2% of that volume in clicks, we will be earning around over 3K value per month for just that one single keyword. Imagine if you have a full list of key terms that you're targeting. The idea here is to show the value in dollars, so you get the buy-in from the stakeholders within an organization who hold budgets. And also another argument could be that once you start ranking organically for all these high value terms, maybe the PPC team would need to target them anymore and focus their budget on some other niche terms that your company is targeting. The idea here is also to show that, you could work with other teams and you can have a common strategy between your SEO team and the PPC team, if there is one in the organization. The other aspect that could be very useful to show visually to internal stakeholders to kind of explain why it is important to invest in target markets rather than just translate is to show them the search trends. So here, for example, this e-commerce system, e-commerce design, the 2 queries, 2 key phrases coming from a specific industry. If you just translate, the translation here is absolutely correct. Translation in Chinese, it's correct. There's no problem with that. However, the locally popular variation in China is a different word. This is what users are searching for when they associate with the term that's over there. Although that translation is correct grammatically, semantically, it is not what's popular in China. The idea is to show that a locally popular variation that was researched locally would work better for getting that organic traffic. Here, sometimes, again, we're going back to your data you see every day and can look at every day. You can also pick up on what to use. Are you going to be translating everything or keeping some of the terms in English? Sometimes that is the case because in some industries, some terms were coined in English and everyone is using them in English, and the locals don't use that translated term yet. It didn't become part of the trends. So we still need to use English, and in this case, dropshipping is the main term used in Taiwan, and the term in Chinese for Taiwan is not very popular. So if you're into dropshipping, you should keep dropshipping in English if you want organic traffic. And another thing, looking at what is in the SERP, in the the SERP neighborhood, is also very useful. Looking at what others are saying about your company in those target markets is very useful as well. There's a popular thing in France, which comparative websites, they talk a lot about different brands and they try in products and different brands and they compare, and you could find lots of insights about your own website, about your own brand in those. This is okay in France, but in Germany, it's illegal. So we wouldn't find this type of information, for example, for Germany. So it is also a good idea to look into the SERPs and what's being discussed about your brand in those markets. And you could bring that information into making informed decisions about your content, about what to target, and what to do about your optimization efforts. Let's take a look at our takeaways. So first, we need to establish the potential, which markets work best, which maybe you could find some nuggets, some specific opportunities in a specific language, in a specific market that are really going to move the needle of your organic traffic for that market. Then you will look into the data, the competitive analysis, find out what locals are doing, what you should be focusing on to replicate that success. And if you need to convince your internal stakeholders, don't be shy to take some information from PPC data and show value in dollars. And of course, look at local sites and what they're talking about. With regards convincing your internal stakeholders, make sure that you always explain in very clear visuals. We talked about visuals earlier. And also make sure you have some data with dollar signs on them to help them make a quick decision. Thank you very much.